What you want to know?
What's going on, people? Myke ctown here with another episode of What Do You Want to Know? Where you ask your question. If I like your question, I'll answer your question on camera. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I miss them, man. I miss answering questions directly from you guys. So I need more questions, and if you want to have one of your questions answered in a future video, send it to ctownwdywk at gmail.com. But yeah, today's question comes from Anonymous, I guess, because they didn't give a name, even though I have their email address and their name is kind of implied in the email address. But I won't do that to you, Anonymous. I'll just answer your question, which was, is it tiring being an insufferable SJW? Well, first off, I don't think I'm insufferable, and I resent the implication. Or at least I don't think I'm that insufferable. I don't mean to be. As far as being called an SJW, I don't care about that. That's fine. Typically because the people that call people an SJW as some sort of pejorative or slur, they're nerds who don't understand why they get chastised for using slurs. But sure, if you want to call me an SJW, I'll accept it. I don't care. But to answer your question as to if it's exhausting, the answer is yes. Yes, it's exhausting caring about people. You know, it's extremely exhausting being concerned with the well-being of other humans who are under attack. You know, not for frivolous shit like their music taste or their favorite choice in jeans, but for simply existing and wanting basic human fundamentals. It's exhausting knowing that there are people who exist who have the mentality of people should not be given basic human fundamentals because I spent 30 years of my 45 years on this earth working for those basic human fundamentals. You know, all because they've been indoctrinated by a system to believe that working to survive, you know, not working to live in luxury, but working to literally survive is normal. It's exhausting knowing that I have friends who think this way. Friends who will watch this video and be immediately put off by the insufferable things that I say because they challenge their worldview. It's exhausting knowing that I'll have more comments on this video calling me an SJW or worse by conservative trolls. It's exhausting knowing that I'll have left-leaning people in the comments of this video criticizing everything that I say because they have a need to feel more left than you know, because they haven't figured out that mental superiority is what a lot of them crave as opposed to the actual or even implied liberation of people. It's exhausting knowing that a lot of conservatives are delusional and lazy, but think the same thing about liberals. You know, it's also exhausting knowing that a lot of liberals are delusional and lazy and think the same thing about conservatives. It's exhausting that I am delusional and lazy a lot of the time. It's exhausting feeling like the things that I hate that are affecting people, like racism, like patriarchy, like wealth disparity, like power dynamics. They're all intrinsically baked into the structure of America, and that it's hard to change those things because a lot of that will require a complete restructuring of systems that we've become used to and comfortable with. It's exhausting feeling like if life was better for other people in my community, that life will inherently be better for me. Because I feel like if everyone had the essentials that they need, and I'm not talking about big cars and a fancy house and, you know, brand new Nikes and shit like that, I'm talking about basic things like food, clothes, shelter. You know, I feel like if everyone within a community had those things, as well as easy access to healthcare, of course, then crime as we know it would significantly drop. It won't disappear, of course, but it will certainly drop. Or at least I think it will. It's exhausting talking about people having basic human needs while being privileged enough to sit in front of thousands of records. It's exhausting knowing how much power the poor and disenfranchised could have if we all understood that we shouldn't be each other's enemies. Like if we all understood that we're all getting fucked in this deal that's been sold to us. And how we'd all be so much better off if we could actually work together, especially if poor white folks and poor black folks understood that we're both being tricked into thinking that it's each other's fault that we're in this predicament instead of the rich elite that actually benefits from our infighting. It's exhausting hearing from leftists that think they're perfect, or liberals who think all leftists think they're perfect, or conservatives who think all liberals and leftists are exactly the same. It's exhausting not being perfect, and it's exhausting being constantly called out on that imperfection. It's exhausting being anti-violence and feeling like violence is deplorable, but simultaneously feeling that violence is the only acceptable response in certain situations. It's exhausting hearing that violence only begets violence from the same people who push for leaner gun laws under the guise of self-defense, but not understanding the concept of self-defense from people who are being attacked by an entire system instead of individual people. It's also exhausting seeing that people don't understand that systems are made up of individual people. It's exhausting knowing that if you are in a minority group, meaning a person of color, queer, etc., that you don't have the option of not being political, or at least not really, because your very existence in this country is political because you have to constantly prove to the government and the people who support it that you have the right to simply live. It's exhausting knowing that the point of all the talking we do is to increase public awareness of the things that are going on, and it's all in an attempt to sway the public into putting pressure on these institutions that are in power and hope that they actually change things for the better. But it's also exhausting knowing that the odds of that happening are extremely slim, because when you're dealing with a system that's only out to benefit a certain group, they don't really leave room or space for the opinions of those outside of that group that's currently in power that they want to remain in power. Like, why would they listen to the people that they are exploiting if they are speaking about ways for them to stop being exploited? It's exhausting being a cynical, pessimistic asshole, but also having a little bit of hope that things can change. It's exhausting knowing that I don't have all the answers, you know, but it's also exhausting feeling like it's not my job to come up with the answers, you know? It's my job, if I want it to be, to complain about the problems to the people who get paid millions of dollars to pretend to care about fixing these issues, man. You know, and it's also exhausting knowing that that's not good enough. It's exhausting feeling like your perspective on the world can be boiled down to this propaganda lyric. And yes, I recognize the irony that the system I oppose affords me the luxury of biting the hand that feeds, but that's exactly why privileged fucks like me should feel obliged to whine and kick and scream until everyone has everything they need. It's exhausting knowing that I've used this exact quote in a video before. It's also exhausting being an old man still spouting off propaganda lyrics from almost 30 years ago because you're a dork and you feel like shit still hasn't changed. It's exhausting knowing that the things that I say and do now most likely won't change this system in my lifetime, but they may affect it for the better in the future, or maybe they won't. It's exhausting being privileged enough to be able to comfortably say these things to a camera on YouTube and people be expected to listen. Yes, it's all fucking exhausting, and you bringing up how exhausting you think it is should tell you something about the state that we're in. You know, it's exhausting wanting people to treat other people with basic respect for their lives, you know? That's all. You know, it's exhausting still trying to work through all of this and figure it all out. But I feel like it would be way more exhausting doing the opposite, which is sitting around not giving a fuck about anybody. So, yeah. Yes, it's exhausting constantly complaining about these things while also feeling like it's probably all for nothing. So I have a question for you, Anonymous. Is it exhausting being a turd asking really stupid questions? Signed, a turd who asks really stupid questions. And yeah, this video was extremely exhausting, so I'm gonna end it there. I don't even know what to say as far as like asking you guys if you enjoyed it. I can't see why you would. But sure, leave some comments down there in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about some of these things. Let me know how you feel if you are a so-called SJW. Is it exhausting? Let me know how it feels if you are a conservative. Is that exhausting? And if you're some weird centrist, you probably don't give a fuck either way, so I don't really care about hearing about your opinion. I know that's mean. But I already, yeah. Anyways, I'm just kidding, guys. Everybody's comments and opinions are welcome down there in the comment section. Welcomed, but not necessarily appreciated. Sorry, I'm just being honest. So that's it for this edition of What Do You Want to Know? Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, sort of. But yeah, as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Peace out. Boy.